lo que mi gente, what is good, my people? It's your boy, the one and only Charlie. And you're watching and listening to CCP Podcasting. And when everything's all said and done, we will be celebrating and dancing all night long. It's Cha-Cha time.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome back to Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page, usually being joined by John Cable. John is on hiatus, thus the show must go on, and the dive into independent wrestling is in full swing right here today. I think we've got a really good show. My guest today comes to us out of Tennessee. Memphis Action Wrestling. This is a young stud of professional wrestling, 3 years deep, has won a state championship in amateur wrestling, is arguably the most hated man in action wrestling, and is the current reigning and defending action wrestling's heavyweight champion, Mr. Timothy Bosby. Welcome to Beyond the Bell. I appreciate you stopping in. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you? I heard you say the most hated man in action wrestling. Well, when you're on top, there's envy, and that's where I am right now. I'm on the very top. Me and the AD, the coach, Dylan Hales, are ruling action wrestling. I'm the champ. I'm even going to be a company guy today, and we're a company beanie.
Look at you.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
I'm ecstatic to have you on, man. I've got a lot I want to pick your brain about. One thing that makes these shows so fun for me is to be able to talk to a lot of you guys that are younger generation. For me, I'm in my 40s, and we always start at the beginning. For you, when did you start falling in love with wrestling, or professional wrestling, number one, and how did that lead to maybe getting into the amateur style when you were in high school, or what's that look like for you coming up with the wrestling scene?
So it's kind of pretty much just how you phrase that question. I have been in love with wrestling literally since birth. It is a family story of when I was born in the hospital, and once my mother was all cleaned up and I was all cleaned up and we were in a hospital room, there was a Raw rerun going on, and my dad was watching Raw after his son was just born. Not really. He was paying attention, but he's like, "Oh wow, look at this! Triple H is on the screen right now." So I literally was born into this world watching wrestling. My dad was a very big fan, and so I just watched with him. Literally, like I said, since birth, it's just all I've ever known. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And then when I got to high school, I joined the wrestling team purely for pro wrestling. I was like, all right, these guys like Kurt, Brock, Shelton, Dolph. Many amateurs that have gotten into pro wrestling, they all say this is what you need to do. And I want to be a pro wrestler, so I'm just going to join the high school team. Not even having goals or aspirations. I just wanted to lose a little weight and like learn techniques on how to do certain things. And then I guess you could say I ended up being pretty decent at it.
I mean, a state championship, if you call that decent. At what year were you in high school when you pulled that? Because, I mean, I was never a not collegiate, but an amateur wrestler. I never did it in high school or anything of that nature. But the dedication that goes into that is something that shouldn't be looked past, right? Because it's showing the level of dedication that you'll have in the future. But what year was that? What in high school?
That would be 2022. My senior year, what was funny was that it's not actually funny, but I only got 3 seasons as a wrestler. My freshman year, my sophomore year, and I did not get a junior year due to COVID.
Right.
So I came back my senior year. By this point, I was still, I was very hungry and motivated. And once I got into the amateur wrestling on the high school team just to learn. But then once I got into it, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I really like this. So I would watch videos, and I really got to studying about it. And I just became kind of fanatic with it because I knew my parents were not going to let me train while in high school. So I knew I just had to wait till I graduate. So while I have to wait, let me go ahead and jump 10 tones into this and really sink my teeth into it. And yeah, it was a surreal experience because I remember my freshman year when we were at state, I did not qualify my freshman year. And I remember sitting in this huge arena, and it was like a bull rodeo studio. And I was like, man, this is, I don't know if I can ever be there with these guys. Those guys on the mat are just insane. And then my senior year, I was there. So it's funny how life can come around like that.
Yeah, man. How
So.
does that make you feel though? Like, what was the obviously sheer fucking ecstaticness, right? Like to pull the state championship at this is what you're working for. Why I think it's important is because you're laying the groundwork for basically your style today. You're very technically sound in that ring, but you can also be a real badass when you need to be. Like, I've seen it. It's fantastic. When you were getting into the amateur style and you win the state championship, did you realize then that my next step is I'm gonna go pro. We're doing this. This is hands down. I've just established myself here as the best in the weight class in the state.
Yeah, no, it was always just to go right into pro wrestling. My senior year, it was difficult because Memphis Wrestling had kind of got just a little more popular, and they really started a training school. And I was like, guys, can I just like stop training, or can I just stop this in high school? Can I just go? I can go train from 6 to 8 right after school. Like, this is what I want to do, but they didn't allow me to. So I just knew. I graduated May 19th, which is funny due to Kane, but May 19th of 2022. And then like that next week after, we went to the Memphis Wrestling facility to go check it out and sign up for training. Part of my parents' rules with that, because I had not crazy offers by no means. I'm not talking about D1 or D2. There's like 1 or 2 D3s and then a bunch of lower level schools did want to have me in their program and stuff. I never cared for it. I did not want to go to college for many years. But part of my parents' rules was, hey, once you graduate, we'll let you go wrestle. We understand you're going to not want to go to college, but at least go to community college. So that was our agreement of me going to community college. And in return, I get to go sign up for pro wrestling training right after graduation. So that's just pretty much, I graduated May 19th. Next week, signed up for the program.
And the rest is history. So you came in through Memphis, and let's talk about that for a second, because they have, last 3-4 years, they really boomed coming out of COVID. Their production values on their shows are always spot on. They've been bringing in a lot of different talent, mainstream or former mainstream guys to mainstream guys. Matter of fact, I mean, fuck, man, you were in there with Josh Alexander in Memphis.
Yeah.
Like. When you got into the training aspect of it? Granted, now you've got the amateur style down, so I don't think you have any trouble in getting in there and keeping up. But what were some of the difficulties that you encountered when you were going from the transition of amateur to professional when you were training at Memphis?
The only difficulty I really had was that they weren't letting me wrestle. I because like when I was a young kid, like I watched as a fan, but there's a certain moment where like my fandom switched, so to speak, and it was WrestleMania 30 when Daniel Bryan won the titles. I was there in person for that. I was 10 years old, and there was something weird. I don't know how to describe it, but when the match was over, my fandom switched from like watching as a fan to then, all right, I'm watching it like, if I was a wrestler, how would I take this move? Or how would I run the ropes? How would I do this, this, and that? And there was something about that moment because I was like, I want to be there in that moment. So I like would practice at home every day how to take bumps on my floor, on my wooden floor, or on my bed, I would practice forward rolls. I would practice like just movements. So like when I got to pro wrestling training, I was more, I don't know if I say advanced, but I was more like knowledgeable than others because these are motions that I've been watching hours of video on of many different on YouTube. You can find tons of videos of how to do this in wrestling. So I already knew how to bump. I didn't have to get taught that. I didn't have to get taught a forward roll. I was already in good shape. I was just like, just put me in the ring. And they wouldn't put me in the ring for a few weeks because they're like, oh, you have to learn how to chain wrestle. I already know how to do that. Just please, just let me get in. So that was the difficulty part of earning their trust. I had to, me and this guy named Ray Ray, I was like, hey, just get in the ring. Let's do this quick running spot. And we did it without nobody knowing. And like we got their attention. Like, oh, I guess Tim can do some of these things. And then from there, I was allowed to start having matches and training matches and starting to kind of do sequences and drills. So the difficulty part was just convincing them that, yes, I can do this.
Take a chance,
that
guys.
Was
Take a chance.
Yes. Yes. The first few weeks of training were brutal, because there's only 2 days a week at Memphis. So Mondays and Wednesday nights, I'm just eager to get in the ring. And they're like, oh, learn how to do a lockup. I already know how to do that. I was getting so frustrated the whole time. And then once I got in the ring about like that 6th or 7th week or so, then the ball just started rolling. And yeah.
I mean, just sounds like to me you I always ask people like, when did it click for you as a getting into the ring as a wrestler? It sounded like to me like it clicked before you even stepped foot in the ring. It clicked for you on the way to getting into the ring, and that actually shows because your rise over the last several years is really been something to sit back and see. Knowing that you came in like legit, you're 3 years deep right now, maybe going into your 4th, and there's a lot that you've already accomplished, and it all dates back to getting started in Memphis. And Memphis was such a hotbed for professional wrestling that it's kind of refreshing to see another name, because there is a lot of really good talent there, but another name coming out of Memphis that you can resonate with the city. Like for me, it was Jerry Lawler, obviously, because I'm an old head. But the newer age of wrestling, you've kind of grabbed Memphis by the throat and said, I'm here. Like I'm not going anywhere. When you got your opportunity, to step through those ropes for the first time and have your first match, what was your feeling when you went through that curtain? Most guys, I was nervous, or nothing. I had no emotion at all. I was focused on what I was doing. What were some of the emotions you were going through as you were walking that aisle, as they say, for the very first time?
For the first time, for my first match, I was extremely nervous the whole day. I was extremely nervous during the little production meeting. I was extremely nervous once the fans started to come in. I was nervous between my uncle, my cousins, and my dad was there. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be – this is it. These people, like my 2 cousins and my uncle, my dad, have heard for, at that point, 18 years, hey, I'm going to be a wrestler. This is all I've talked about. I made them buy countless action figures and video games. So this is kind of the moment to kind of give back to them. Like, hey, all that time you put and to listen to me talk about this and buy me this stuff, it's going to pay off here, and it's going to continue to pay off. But then when the bell rung, all the nerves went away. And that's kind of like how pretty much every match has since. What typically happens is I'm not nervous the day of. I'm not nervous 2 or 3 hours beforehand. It's like 5 to 10 minutes before I'm about to walk out, I get super nervous. During my entrance, I'm extremely nervous during every single entrance. If you watch, I never know what to do. I never know if I should high-five people. I never know what I should do. But when the bell rings, every time the nerves goes away. Because I'm not trying to say this egotistically or nothing, but I know when it's just one-on-one and the bell rings, I can wrestle. And I can wrestle with anybody. So the nerves goes away once the bell rings. And that's just how it was in that first match.
That's the nature. I remember my first trip down the ramp. You're about to laugh your ass off. I tripped, and this was not intentional. I tripped on the ring steps going up to the apron, and my boot got caught on the middle rope stepping through the ring. Stepping into the ring. Very first night. It's one that I will never forget. Fucking Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson were on the show, and when I walked back through that curtain, buddy, they jumped on me. I learned the best lesson of all time right then and there, and I bet you it never happened again. But it's nuts. I mean you've got a passion for this that is almost second to none, and when you're getting into the scene in Memphis, you know, your rise there, you know, towards the Internet Championship. We watched a match earlier today. It was an outdoor venue. You were challenging for the championship, and it ended up turning into a tag team match. How long were you chasing that thing before you got it around your waist? And I'm assuming that is the first championship that you procured in your young career. So how does that make you feel to know, A, that there's investment in the company in you? Because again, they didn't want to let you in the ring initially. They're like, no, go learn this. But now, goddamn, here you are, like probably not even a year in, and you're carrying one of their straps.
So that's what's funny about that. So the Internet Championship, it was my first title that I won in wrestling. So my first match is October 8th, 2022. It was against Zay Washington, the Internet Champion. It was the main event of that program. I was very nervous about it. They gave, this is a little bit too much information, but they gave us 13 minutes, and I was very nervous. I was like, oh, boy. That was my first match. And then I want to say my fourth or fifth match in my career, it's me and Zay again, and I beat him for the title. So I got the title within my first 4 or 5 matches, and I won the belt in November 13th. So yeah, I was only like a month and a half into actually being a real wrestler, and I won the Internet title for the first time, and it was so disgusting back then. It was this pink title, and a guy had spray paint on the belt to mess with Zay, the former champion. So like for a few months, I had to carry this disgusting looking pink title. But then it led to something cool with Shane Douglas coming into Memphis, and Shane Douglas threw down that title, gave me an actually decent looking championship, and named me the franchise Memphis Wrestling. So that was pretty cool.
That's where I stumbled across you. Is again, that was about the time where we pivoted our platform. Like I was doing a lot of old school wrestling and a lot of old WWF stuff from way back in my childhood. One of the things that got Memphis on my radar was, again, just seeing online that Shane Douglas was back in wrestling and was doing some stuff in Memphis and I think Appalachian or something. There's another company out there he was doing some stuff with. And that's how I saw you. Like was through, I think it was through a clip or something like that initially, and then I started, randomly just going and watching some matches here and there, and saw how quick that you picked this shit up and you develop. I've seen you play, the baby face, and I've seen you as more recently as the heel. And what I find very interesting about that is how you make money in this business is being able to play both sides of the fence and being able to do it well. When you came in as obviously a babyface, Memphis really took to you. How did that make you feel? Did you think that you would, kind of, I hate to use the word get over, but did you think that you'd become as popular as you did in Memphis as quickly as you did?
Well, it took a little bit of a second. The people had no clue how to react to me my first few matches, and then what really helped it establish was the franchise deal. Then I was a little bit of a cocky individual. And then it wasn't until I was getting booed up until that point, I was doing some very not so nice things. I was throwing gum on people. I was taking people's hats and throwing them. I was launching popcorn on them. I was going the whole 9 yards. But I got to wrestle Alan Angels in Memphis and defend the Internet title against him. And that was the match. I was supposed to be the bad guy. He was supposed to be the good guy. Nobody in that building cheered for him at all. And for some reason, they cheered me just because I was just kind of the more local guy, and they chanted 901, which was the area code for Memphis. And just the people higher up in the company said, well, I think we need to make a switch here. And so then the switch was made, and it's just been crazy to me.
It, it was more
Just
organic.
I,
It was an
yeah,
organic thing. That is the best. You mentioned WrestleMania 30, and I wasn't going to touch on it there, but now hearing this piece of it, I will. Again, I was having a conversation with Sam Beal a couple weeks ago. He really got hooked into WrestleMania 30 as well, and it was the Daniel Bryan story. And what I told him, I said, wrestling can be so fucking good when it's organic. So you get that natural, organic shift from being a bad guy to shifting into a good guy. To me, that makes the best television, and it makes the best wrestling.
yeah, and it was really really cool for me because when I went good, I still wasn't even a year in yet
Right.
at that point, and it was really cool because I came out with shirts, and I went to the merch stand. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and sell these, make some money, and people actually bought shirts, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then the show started, and it came time for my stuff, and when I was making my entrance, the people, some of them that I sold my shirts to before, were actually wearing them, and I was like, whoa, like
Like,
this is
wait,
gonna
hold up.
sound yeah, it's gonna sound like me being like a little bitch, but I was about to cry in the middle of my entrance because I was like, dude, there's people wearing my shirts. One, they spent money on me, and now they're wearing my shirts. I am still a fan. I'm still wearing people's shirts, and I was just in that position. Me and my dad. And what made it even more cool was that this specific example was a son and his dad that had bought my shirts, and they were both then wore them when the show started. So I was like, man, that was just me with my dad many years ago, going to shows, wearing people's shirts, and now I'm having that kind of same
Yeah,
interaction and
yeah.
connection with now another son and a dad. And now there's other people wearing my shirts, and that was really, really cool. That was like the first kind of, I don't know, milestone or kind of like feel good moment, really, where I was like, damn, okay,
What
this
you
is,
what you just described is so. Again, a little bit more about me. This platform has been so great to me, and it has introduced me to so many different people. Travis Orndorff, son of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. I do a podcast with him. I do a project with him, and it's called Hope is Wonderful. And what you described is the ripple effect. And what that means is, when people skim a rock, a lot of people just see the rock and they see the ripples. Well, they lose track of the rock when it goes underneath the water, and the only people who see that are the people who are really paying attention. So the ripple effect is you just had that moment with another father and son that you shared with your dad, previously. You've created a moment for them that will lead into a ripple effect of constant memories of going back to, hey, Dad, do you remember when we went to that show in Memphis and we saw Tim? Like they're gonna remember that. Like it's a surreal feeling when you really sit down and think about it. And for it to happen so young in your career, it's actually kind of fucking awesome when you sit back and think about it, because you've touched somebody in a way that you didn't know was possible.
yeah, for sure. It was that I remember. I always remember that day selling it to them, and then like I said, I was just having people bought my shirt. I was like, oh man, I can go use this money for something. And then when the show started and they had put it on, I was like, oh my god,
And
it's great. Like I said, I almost cried
it's
in my
cre-
entrance.
it's created that moment for you too. This is, you know what I mean? That's something that you're never going to forget. And sometimes that's the beautiful thing about professional wrestling. It's because you never know when it's going to give. When it's going to give you that moment, and those are the wins. There's a lot of sacrifices that are given up by all of you guys that get into professional wrestling, and sacrifices that people don't see unless you've been involved in it. Giving up time with friends, giving up time with loved ones, significant others. Like, if you're going to be successful, it is a full time deal. Um, and to see that you're connecting with different people, not only just in Memphis, but in Chattanooga and elsewhere. Like, you genuinely draw a reaction out of people, whether it's positive or negative, and ultimately it's a testament to you and your abilities and what you have already accomplished in such a short period of time. And that's not something to ever look past. You know what I mean? Like, it's real. There's no, there's a lot of fake in the world, but that's a real thing. It's a real moment, and it's something that 20 years from now, when you're main eventing WrestleMania, you win the world's championship, you'll be able to look back on that and be like, I remember when you see 80,000 people wearing your shit. I remember the two that started it.
Yeah, that's something pretty similar to like what one of my favorite wrestlers, maybe my all-time favorite, Cody Rhodes, has once talked about. Like, yeah, what we do, can be described in many ways, and some can say maybe it's make-believe or maybe it's not real or whatever. But the connection you make with the individuals that watch this product is very real. The connection you make with the fan in the front row who is going through whatever in real life, but is shutting it off for this 2 hours of this wrestling show to watch you and then believe in you, that is very real. I mean, that's something that have really, these last few months has really started to hit me. Now that I am getting a little bit older and I'm getting a little bit more responsibilities, I'm about to turn 21 at the end of the month. So what's been happening? Thank you. I've been starting to think about like, wow, and it's just now hitting me like people that come to shows, they got bills to pay, they got things going on in their life. They don't have to spend this $20 here or however much ticket costs. They could be at home saving money. They could be doing whatever, but they're taking time out of their day to come to this wrestling show to support the wrestlers they want to see and just support wrestling in general. So that is something that I don't want to take for granted, and I never try to half-ass a match or half-ass an event. Always give it 100%, because people are literally taking time out of their day. They don't have to come watch this. They can go. There's so many forms of media and entertainment to invest your time into. Yet they're coming to this silly wrestling show to come watch you. So you need to, bust your ass for them. So
and you do. If anyone has taken the time to really sit down and dive into your work, it's very obvious that there is no half-assing it with you, and that is it's a fantastic thing to see, because it's all derivative of your work ethic and what you are trying to get accomplished and where you want to go, and your journey so far. While you're just getting started, you're definitely attached to some really good feds that have some good stuff going on. Memphis being one, it led you to Action Wrestling. I know that we had talked a little bit briefly before we came on the air. It took you 2 years to really get into Action Wrestling. So what's that look like for you? What was that journey like to branch out? And what about Action Wrestling drew you in, so to speak?
Just the talent there. There are some very good individuals there, and very good talents. I had met Matt at a show once before. For those that don't know, the owner and leader of Action Wrestling, Matt Griffin. I got to meet him once at a show, like 2-3 months in, and I just kind of said hello. And every now and then I'd send a message like, "Hey, I'm available if you need anything." And okay. And at that same show where I had met him, I'd met Dylan Hales, who leads TWE and the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. And I got to go do his student show that he used to, they still do it, called Crash Course. It was in its beginning phases, and I impressed the people there. So then I got to be on their main shows. So I pretty much got to work in Chattanooga for a year, kind of very smallly building a resume up, and like working the names that Chattanooga has, which is featured a lot on action shows. So kind of the word started to spread around, like, a guy would work in Chattanooga and then go back up to Georgia, go, "Hey, I just worked that Tim Bosby kid," or "I was on a show with Tim. He had a really good match." So like I was slowly building a good resume. And then I had a match with TJ Crawford in February of last year in Chattanooga. that got Scott Hainsley, who kind of helps Matt in action, and they do this thing, the SCI every year. SCI, it's a tournament. It's a amazing thing to be a part of. It's a 2-day deal. Within the tournament, they do a futures tournament the morning of on the first or no on the morning of the second day. Scott Hainsley got in the ring after my match with TJ Crawford, unplanned, unannounced, did not talk to Matt, just said, "Hey, I really love the work you just did. That was a great match. Do you want to be the first participant in this year's futures tournament?" In front of the live crowd. And I was like, okay. I shook his hand. So I got to be a part of futures. Once again, kind of got to,
Rub shoulders.
make the, yeah. I kind of got to network a little bit. Had a good impression. Made it to the finals. And then that kind of rolled into kind of where we are now, where Warhorse defeated Bobby Flaco for the title on a Friday night, and I was already scheduled to wrestle him the next night in Chattanooga in TWE. And Warhorse felt a little froggy. He put the title on the line. Last notice, I took the opportunity of a lifetime and won the title. And now here we are. They have to book me now. I'm the champ. And I never, besides futures, which is not necessarily an action thing, I've never worked for Action Wrestling before up until that point, and I was the champion. So we put ourselves in a very interesting dynamic.
Absolutely. Your match with, I'm glad you touched on that match with Warhorse. I sat down and watched it earlier today. And you want to talk about fantastic. Like, that's an understatement. That match, it had my chat on Twitch popping left and right. The work that you two did, I even think I said it on the Final Thoughts part of the show. If I didn't, I'll send it to you. You guys should be commended and really be patting yourselves on the back. And if you guys have not seen that match, I strongly encourage you to head over to IWTV and check it out. It is definitely worth the watch. The psychological ride of that contest was phenomenal. The psychology behind Warhorse and his sleeping on you is the only thing I know how to say. That motherfucker slept, and he got caught in a bad way. You're transitioning into the ankle locks were well done. It was so crisp. I can't say enough good things about that match. It's one of the best matches I've seen, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show. And I do watch a lot of fucking indie wrestling. It's one of the best matches I've seen in probably the last 3 or 4 months, and it's, I think it's a couple of months old at this point, right?
Yeah, so that match where I won the championship from Warhorse, that was our third match. We had a trilogy for the whole year of 2024 at Chattanooga. We had wrestled in March, and then we wrestled in August, and then the final match was there in November. And, that's another thing that's not lost on me, kind of talking about a little bit earlier, like how Memphis putting trust in you. Warhorse only came to Chattanooga, Tennessee 3 times in 2024, and all 3 times were to wrestle me. They could have put him in the ring with anybody, but they trusted me enough to be in the ring with him. He won the first one. I won the second one. Then I won the third. I learned a lot in those 3 matches. And that third match helped me out a lot. I learned a lot. And that is still my longest match bell to bell. I believe that match ranges, I think it's like 17 or 18 minutes bell to bell. Mm-hmm. And definitely my first time going to the deep waters and understanding how to try and keep a match interesting for that long. And the last thing I have to say is Warhorse, I've never been chopped harder by anybody.
I'm just saying, you guys did well. I didn't even comment on that. I was like, this match proved that you can go into deep waters, and that you can make that happen, and carry your part. Because you're only as good as your dance partner, and that's a piece of. First of all, let me say this, because getting in there with Warhorse, names like Adam Priest. Again, Josh Alexander, touched on him earlier in Memphis. These are some really solid fucking names in such a short period. Like, these are really good learning opportunities for you. What is some of the things that you've taken away from being in the ring with some of these seasoned guys?
Man, gosh, I always say I've just been very blessed and fortunate to have gotten in the ring with some very talented people. Um, there's a lot of things that I've learned. Some may be a little too revealing, but I mean, just for the most part, like just timing
Mm-hmm.
on everything. Timing, timing, timing. I mean, it's an age-old quote, um, but sometimes you may have to hear it, or you have to get in certain situations to really understand it. If you think you're going slow, go even slower. I mean, you hear everybody say that, and you're like, oh, whatever. And then, like, you actually kind of get in the ring and you go through scenarios, and then you watch it back on film. You're like, man, why did I? You think you took your time on something, and then you watch it back, and you're like, I rushed that. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I probably say the biggest thing is timing with everybody. Um, and like, you kind of get in the ring with certain people and go, oh man, there's levels to this. Like, I'm here, and these guys are up here. Like, I need to get to that. So getting in the ring with good talent is always like push me to try and get to their level. And like one of the biggest examples was like when I wrestled TJ Crawford. I cannot say enough good things about TJ. Um, I he's based out of the Northeast for Beyond Wrestling and a part of Big Business. Just had a really good match with Ryan Clancy. Our match we had in February last year taught me a lot. It was only like 10 minutes, but just his smoothness, the crisp, how good his timing was, the way he interacted with the crowd, the little things that he did. I was like, God damn, this guy's really good. And I've had others like that. You know, you mentioned Adam Priest. It's funny. I want to wrestle Adam Priest again. One, because I want to beat him in action. But two, because he was only my third ever wrestling match. It's my third match. I only wrestled him once. I still had my high school gear on. So a little bit unfair advantage on his side. He tied me up in knots. I didn't know what to do. Some foreign voodoo magic. But no, I really want to get back in there with Priest. Because, I mean, he has only exploded since then. I mean,
Facts.
I don't even think that was in like October of 2022, or that was like November, December. I don't even think he was doing DPW yet. He may have just been starting out with them, but like he has exploded since then. He's gotten so much better, and I have gotten a little bit better since then. So I want to step in the ring with Priest one more time.
I mean, you're a champ for a reason. So, I would love to see that. Actually, I did not know that was your third match. I have seen it, and it is a good one. I what here's a piece of what I dig about you and your style. And while yes, you don't have to go 15 or 20 minutes. You can get in there and have a 11 minute match, and they're fucking good. Like they're not, you know what I mean? Like it's really good wrestling, and it's good storytelling too, from what I've seen. And while we were talking about, you picking up the championship over Warhorse, something that I wasn't aware of for real until I asked you before we came on the air is I dig the working relationship between Memphis and Chattanooga, because to me that throws all the bullshit that can come along with professional wrestling to the side and shows that if you choose to work together, you can be successful together.
Well, it's action with Georgia
Action,
and
sorry.
Chattanooga. You're good. It's action in TWE. Memphis does have working relationships. They actually have a work relationship with Reality of Wrestling and some other promotions in
Yes.
the area.
Too much wrestling.
Yes, yeah, I know there's so much with Georgia and Tennessee with Action and TWE. It's a great, healthy working relationship. The last TWE show I was on, I just defended the Action World title
Mm-hmm.
against Country Boy Boots. And yeah, titles are defended between both organizations. Talent gets to go work both places. It is a very healthy, and strong relationship. And I think it's only going to go stronger and
I
keep
think
blooming.
I think it was cool as shit to see you pick up the Action Championship in Chattanooga. Like it was on another company show, which is kind of unheard of. A little bit here and a little bit there, but it just tells me that at least for these two companies that they're working together. It's a working relationship, And it's something that's very healthy to see because it provides you guys more opportunities. It gives you the you're able to travel and bounce from place to place, at least within these two, and they're running opposite or running back to back nights. That gives you the opportunity to work both.
Yes, and with me winning the title in Tennessee, not to brag or anything, there was a few first time evers. The youngest the youngest action wrestling world champion at 20 years old. No big deal. And in the first time ever, the title changed hands, not in the state of Georgia. There's only been, I think, 9 or 10 champions, and every time the belt changes hands in Georgia, well, it changed in Tennessee.
You're making
So yeah, two first times.
double history making moment right here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just call a spade, and there's only one guy that can do that, and his name's Tim Bosby. Just want to make sure we're all clear there.
And that's not something that you see happen. Like you said, it was a very cool thing that I was able to make happen because I was the one that made the guy tap out. No big deal. But you might see belts get defended in other promotions, but like in the back of your mind, you're like, well, they're not going to lose it here because this isn't the actual promotion.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like the wrestling fan in you and just kind of like, I don't want to call it common sense, but you're like, why would the belt change hands here? Well, on November 23rd of 2024, the Action World title changed hands in a TWE ring, not in the state of Georgia. And I was the one to be able to make that happen and become the youngest champion in that same realm. So
how did it feel to get back to when you got back to Georgia and you walked into the Action fans? What was their reaction? Did they know what was going on?
No, for the most part. And what was great about that was I had never wrestled in Georgia. The last time that I was in Georgia, before that first show, was WrestleMania 27. My dad took me. That was like my dad's thing when we go to WrestleManias. So I got to see my boy, my hero, The Miz, walk into WrestleMania as the world champion and walk out of WrestleMania as the world champion.
I was there.
So I was 7 years old. My hero successfully defended his title. And then now at 20 years old, I'm walking in to Georgia as a world champion. And I successfully defended the title and walked out of Georgia as the world champion. So, just me and my goat, The Miz, doing things like nobody else. But no, the fans, some of them didn't take well to me. They didn't really know who I was. Because like I said, I've never wrestled for Action. I've never wrestled in the state of Georgia. There's a working relationship, but the crowds can be very different. Not everybody watches what happens in Action. Not everybody watches what happens in TWE. So the fans are kind of glued into what's going on in their areas. So when you just see me pop up out of nowhere and you've been coming to Action for 3 or 4 years, you're like, who the hell is this guy? Wait a minute. Yeah, he's the champ too?
Wait, what? What the hell? What did I miss?
Yeah. So like, and in the way Action does their shows, they kind of rotate between 2 or 3 different buildings. So the building of the first show, they had just saw Bobby win the title.
Right.
Bobby lost the belt in a different venue. So when they come back here like 2 months later, they're like, oh, we can't wait to see Bobby with the belt. Well, no, Bobby's not the champ no more. Bobby lost in his first defense because he's a loser. He lost to Warhorse. And I beat Warhorse the next night. So now you're seeing me, and you're like, what the hell? And then I went ahead and beat Bobby in 38 seconds in the main event of that first show back in December. Once again, no big deal. 38 seconds. Did I mention 38 seconds? But yeah.
Seconds. Actually, I think it was 37.9, but
yeah,
if they got to round up, they got to round up.
We don't have to get into the specifics of it, but the fact is that Bobby was beaten and quite honestly just left in a pile. Then his roster, some of his roster mates thought stuff was cute and fun. Thought we were just playing around. I was like, oh, let me go test Tim, the new champ, and then they found out very quickly. Cody Fluffman, I beat up so bad he's now part of the banana baseball team, whatever you call that crap.
Banana ball or what have you. Let me tell you what I call that situation that the roster found themselves. I call that the corner of fuck around and find out. They fucked around and then they found out. And which kind of leads me into where I was going to go anyway is you know, they fucking hate you. You've played the dynamic on both sides of the equation between, you know, being the a baby face, or an organic baby face at that, to now going to they want to fucking kill. I mean, when you got people that are walking up to you and doing that, just all up in your face, getting as close to you as they possibly can without touching you, buddy, you've done something. And a large part of that goes to the again 38 seconds, and the promo that came after, and how all that was designed and how it was set up. I told you off air. I will say it here. Whoever put that together should be patting themselves on the back, because boy howdy, did that not generate exactly what you wanted it to, and then some. And that is a win, in the biggest way possible, not only for yourself, for the company as well. When you can draw and elicit that kind of reaction off of one piece of business, you're on to something. And you guys have not only taken that, you've parlayed it so far. What was your thoughts when going back to that promo that came after that match? I mean, dude, they were fucking not happy.
No, they were not in the slightest. You know, one of my other all time greats, and my manager, my coach, the AD, Dylan Hales, my right hand man. You know, one of our favorite wrestlers. A quote he likes to say nowadays is, you might have heard of him, The Game, Triple H. He likes to say that's just what we do, and that's just all that was. That's just what we do. The goal, whether to cheer you or boo you or do whatever, make them feel, make them have a reaction. And I simply just go out there and try and put on a show and just win a match. That's all I try and do. I just try and win a match. Some people cheer, some people boo. As you saw, there was one particular fan who wanted to tell me and my coach, the AD, that we were number one. She wanted to get all up and close and personal about it. And that's fine. It is what it is. I'm always cool with getting told I'm number one, because I am number one. So, but trying to elicit a reaction, and the reaction that we've been getting, that's just what we do.
Yeah, you guys are on to something there. It's really fun to sit back and watch and see what the next steps are going to be, because I mean the sky is really the limit here. There's a lot of things that you've been attached to outside of wrestling as well, and I want to pivot and discuss a little bit about the Young Rock season. I think it was like season 3, man. What happened there?
Yeah.
So walk me through that.
So Young Rock season 3 came to film in Memphis, Tennessee,
Yep.
and Chavo Guerrero and Marty Elias came to the Memphis Wrestling School. The students were not told. They just popped up one day, and I completely freaked out in front of Chavo Guerrero, one of the most embarrassing moments ever, because I did not know. And he just walked right into the door, and I was speechless. But Chavo watched the training group kind of roll around, take bumps, do whatever. And Chavo and Marty pulled me to the side, and they were like, "Hey, you're pretty damn good. What's your contact information? We're going to make something happen." And I was like, oh my God. I didn't really think nothing was going to happen, but I gave him my contact information. And then I was at an old job at the time, and I got a call from a number that looked strange, and I was like, I'm not answering that. So I put the phone down, and then a few minutes later, I saw it left me a voicemail. And I said, okay. And then it was NBC Studios calling. So I answered pretty fucking quickly. I called them back. And so I got to be an actual wrestler for the first episode. It's a montage of Rocky Johnson and The Rock going through a slump of their career where they're losing back to back to back. And yes, I pinned The Rock on a 1997 Raw's War 7 years before I was even born. No big deal at all. I just pinned The Rock. So I was in the first episode as an actual wrestler in that little montage. But then I was able to kind of weasel and sneak my way onto the ring crew for the rest of the season. And I did little extra spots. There's different episodes, you can see me in the background of things. Like I'm in the Christmas episode. I'm in like a few locker room scenes. But for the most part, every ring that you saw on season 3, I helped set up, and I was on the ring crew for it. And that was a time of my life that seems so far away now, because that happened. That was in the fall and winter of 2022, and I mean, I had just started. I hadn't even had my first match yet. I had my first match technically was the Rock match where I pinned him. Technically, that was my first match, and then I had my real first match a week later. So that was very, very, very early on in my career. And I mean, once I was doing the ring crew and I had to be there on set every day and change the rings, I got to hang out with Chavo Guerrero and, like I said, Marty Elias for hours upon hours. And now I'm picking Chavo's brain. I'm picking Marty's brain. We all know Chavo Guerrero. If you're not familiar with the name Marty Elias, he was the referee for Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. He had been with the company for a very long time, so he's very knowledgeable. So I just got to pick their brains while setting up and tearing down the Young Rock rings, while, hey, can you dress up in zebra pants and green boots and be in the background of this locker room scene? Like it was a crazy 4 months, I think it was in total, 4 or 5 months, just insane.
We are going to say that the great Tim Bosby is 1-0 against The Rock. That's what we're going to say.
Yes.
That's what we're going to say.
I'm 1-0 against him, and I Raw's War 1997. They show it a little bit, but the full clip, he whips me off the ropes. He goes for a high knee. I school behind him and get a schoolboy 1-2-3. I'm in this very cool, not really cool, but blue boots, blue pants, blue singlet type of deal. And I pinned The Rock. No big deal at all. It's not many people.
It's absolutely not a big deal.
So,
It's just,
and technically that was my first match once again, and I wasn't even born yet in that time frame. But
you want to talk about a hell of a debut? You've gone back in time before you were born to beat The Rock. That's how good Tim Bosby is, guys. Just so we know, no big deal. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's to me it's interesting because you're not only are you having a ball doing this shit, but you're in this particular time frame. You just said you're getting to pick the brain of Chavo Guerrero. Chavo's one of the greatest of all time. Like it's just he just has a brain for this fucking business. I can only imagine what that learning tree felt like.
Yes. Every day, I never wanted to really bother him, but anytime I got the chance, whether it was like a quick 20, 30-minute break in catering, or whatever it may be, him and Marty Elias, I would just ask question after question and like, hey, Chavo, I kind of got this match coming up. Do you think I should do this and this? Hey, Chavo, look at what I just did in this clip. Is this acceptable? How can I do better at this? Hey, Chavo, if I'm going into this match, how should I think about it? And like just getting to pick his brain and getting his feedback. And two individuals I still keep contact with this day. And they'll watch matches, they'll critique it, So I'm really glad I got to make those connections, and it's always good to have the right people in your corner. And I mean, you can't steer away from two people that literally was with the biggest company in the world for a good majority of their career, and then not even that, but then went and did Lucha Underground and have both worked in Mexico and done crazy stuff there, and just the lifespan of both those two careers.
Even just stint with, well, I guess that was AEW was probably, was that before? Yeah, I think he was in he did AEW stint like back when they first kicked around.
It was
everywhere.
Yeah, Chavo's been everywhere. Yeah.
We'll start winding this down. I got a couple more things I want to talk to you about real quick. Get your opinion on. Actually, what the big thing I want to talk to you about is obviously, as of this show, last night Raw's in Memphis, and lo and behold, what do I see other than a sharp dressed security guy getting leaped upon by Jay Uso. Man, how did that come together? And I mean, there's a lot to unpack with this appearance. The first thing I want to just bring up is it doesn't fall upon me to just point out that your debut on Monday Night Raw is in the main event segment for the championship between Gunther and Jay Uso on the road to WrestleMania, and you're prominently featured even in the role of the security guard that you're in. No big deal, by the way. But I do want to talk about this situation and how this came about, because this is a pretty big fucking deal, dude.
Yeah, so oh man, I could ramble on about this forever, like
I'm
anything
here
in
for it.
wrestling.
I'm here for it. I got
So
nothing but time.
e- extra work. I started, literally, my first time doing extra work was January 6th. It was a SmackDown in Memphis of 2023. I was still 18. I was able to get it due to Memphis Wrestling and a little bit of connections going on there. So I've been doing extra work for WWE now for pretty much 2 years now, and I've gotten to do a lot of shows, and I've gotten to be a lot of. I've been a part of some really cool things that hopefully I'll get to be in one of those YouTube videos or a big Twitter post in like 3 to 5, 10 years of like, I win the belt and they're like, oh hey, remember this clip of Tim being a guard or whatever? I've got to do some really cool stuff. The first thing I ever did on Raw was back in April or May of 23. It was with Cody and Brock, and Cody Rhodes bit me in the face. He hit me pretty good. That wasn't cool, but he hit me pretty good, and so I got hit by Cody on the lead up to that. At SummerSlam in Detroit, for 2023, I was a doctor for Bianca Belair, which was insane because one, that was in Detroit Field, where WrestleMania 23 happened, one of my favorite WrestleManias. So one, just being there was cool, but I actually got to be in the center where the ring was, and I'm just looking up. If you watch it back, I'm doing a terrible job. I'm not even checking on Bianca. I'm just amazed by like the 60,000 people that I'm in the middle of. That was cool. I've caught Braun Strowman on a dive. I've got to do some really cool stuff. But last night, you know, I tried to help Jey Uso get Gunther off of him. And then what does he do? He dives right on me. So I should have let Gunther keep powerbombing his ass. That's what I should have done. But no, that was really, really cool. It's always a great time going up there and doing that type of stuff. Everybody's nice. You get to feel like you're a part of the team for a day. And yeah, I hope I get to be on that team officially one day. But yeah, last night was really cool. Got to pull Gunther off. There's 15,000 people just screaming nonstop, just screaming that yeet. Just it's insane. Jey Uso right now. He's got him in the palm of his hand.
I
So
I never expected to see that, and when I did, I was just like, "Wait!" I had to double take. I said, "Wait, hold on, that it fucking is. It is." And I just I get proud for you guys when you get the moments like this, and it's because you put in a lot of work that people again will never see, and this is a nod of, to me as just observing, it's like it's a nod of acceptance of the work that you've put in. It's like that, here's, we see you, like we see what you're doing, and that tells me that you're well on your way and you're on the right track. And I don't think that that it's a matter of if, it's truly a matter of when. You've got the WWID program is a thing. I don't. I've heard both yay and nay on it from different people. I personally think it's a good thing, and it's a good idea to start looking at the younger generation. It's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. So to say that we've seen the last of you on that kind of platform with that company, with the WWE. Nah, bro, we're gonna be seeing plenty of you there in due time. And sometimes it's all about the timing. And when the time is right, the Fed's been around for fucking ever for a reason. When the time is right, that number's going to get called. And based on what I've seen and the conversation that we've had, you're going to be more than ready to answer that damn phone and go kick the doors down and show the world what so many of us that are low men on totem poles in the world of professional wrestling already know, is that you are the real deal. You've got it. And I know that may not mean shit coming from me, but if I see it, there are plenty of other people who see it too. Uh,
You know what's cool is hopefully when the phone does ring, hey, I already have some kind of built-in stories. Cody hit me in the face. I could wrestle Cody. Jay
Yep.
just dove on me for no reason. I could, Braun Strowman. I don't think I'll try and get my lick back for that one. I think it's okay that he dove on me. I don't want nothing with Braun Strowman.
I think that's water under the bridge, and I think bygones can be bygones there. But I do think that it was pretty fucking incredible to see you in and again, it's a prominent, to me, it's a prominent spot. It may not be like, it's this. No, this is. I mean, they're not just gonna put somebody there that they don't trust to do what they need what needs to be done. They're just not. It's not gonna happen. And it was really cool to see, and I know that there's many more cool moments coming on a much bigger scale for you. Got another question for you here, 2 more, and we'll tie a bow on this. I ask everybody this when we do a Beyond the Bell, and I'll give you my answer as to why I ask you this after you give me your answer to the question. I always ask people, give me the 4 or 5 people that whether somebody that maybe you've been in the ring with, that you had good chemistry with, or people that I should be watching. If you had to, and it could be tag teams, all bets are off. Give me 4 or 5 people.
Okay, here we go. All right, so number 1, Aaron Roberts, out of Memphis, Tennessee. He is a part of the WEID program. I've wrestled Aaron way too many times. I've took the Vader bomb from him way too many times. Very talented guy. Marco Harris, who is based out of Mississippi. Very, 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 very talented. He can do things that is just shouldn't be humanly possible. Let's see. A third is a guy who I just met and wrestled for the first time a few weeks ago, Jackson Drake, who is another WWEID guy. Can't say enough good things about him. I never met him before this match. I got to meet him. We had a blast. He hits very hard. I'm trying to see number 4, Jamison Shook, who is based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jamison Shook, very nice guy. Met him very early on. He does everything. He wrestles in normal matches. He wrestles in tag matches. He wrestles in death matches. He runs his own shows. He does a lot.
Okay.
So with those 4, and to round it out on a smooth 5, I'm going to actually I'm going to give you 6. Fuck it. I'm going to give you TJ Crawford, who I kept mentioning earlier. Big business, throw him up, big fact. And then number 6 to round it out is going to be Channing Thomas. Channing Thomas.
Dude, Channing Thomas. I'm clipping this just for this, so he'll see it. I am such a big fan of Thomas. I just shot a spotlight show on him not too long ago. Literally, I said it then, I'll say it now. I missed the boat as a heel by not using Simply the Best by Tina Turner as my entrance. I feel like, bro, his entrance is the hand clasp and all with Sydney is just great.
SCI weekend last year, I feel like I had seen him before, but I never seen him wrestle or nothing. So when I was watching his first round match, against Rachel Armstrong, and he comes out with Sydney Barcabella, who I love, icing on the cake, and like they get in the ring and they
former
like,
WWF Hall of Famer, by the way.
yes, yes. They claps hands and they like circle in the ring, and then Sydney gets the microphone, and I have the whole thing recorded on my phone. He talks for like 3 minutes,
Yep.
and I'm thinking like, is this because at this promotion like this isn't allowed? I was like, what is going on? This is gonna eat up their whole match time. Like, what is going on here? And I was just in love with everything, the rope, the pile driver. I mean, and then that put me on to studying him and everything that he does in that Northeast area with Limitless
Just
Wrestling
picked up the
and with
Limitless
Beyond.
Championship. Yeah. Just
Yes,
picked it up again over Cole.
So and a fantastic match, by the way, both of them. So I got to be put on to world-class Channing Thomas. And, I can't say enough good things about Channing Thomas and TJ Crawford, both based out of that Northeast area. And, I'm walking around the house. I'm saying big fact, big business, I'm brushing my teeth, and out of nowhere, I just go, world-class. Because that's what wrestling's all about. It's about making an impression on somebody, being able to make people remember you. And that's just what those two guys do.
They're fantastic. Thomas is one of my favorite heels in the game right now. I make no bones about it. Yes, fantastic stuff. I love the fact that you pointed that out. You called his name. I couldn't help it. But let me tell you why I asked you to do that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to quickly say, hey, I'm a very big fan. I'm big on speaking things into existence, especially these last few years, because you just kind of say something and then out of nowhere it happens. So I want to throw this out there into the world that I would like to team with Channing Thomas. Against who? I don't know. But I think the Action Wrestling World Champion, accompanied by the AD, the coach Dylan Hales, and the Limitless World Champion, accompanied by the WWF Hall of Famer Sydney Barcabella. I think us both having our managers and coaches and us being two, champions teaming up together to take on whoever, I think that'd be very entertaining. I think it would be a good match no matter who you put us in the ring with. And third, we would win. So,
well,
yeah.
One, don't tease me with a good time. Two, Limitless Wrestling are friends of ours, so I will definitely tag them in this. I think that needs to happen. Number one, because you're right. I think you would win, and I have to see that. Like I have to see that pairing. That would be very interesting and very, very interesting indeed. Last thing I got for you, man. We're professional wrestling is such a wild industry to be a part of. You never know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it could happen. Over, you're 3-4 years deep now. What do you want to? I guess 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself getting there?
So I just hit 2 years since my official match back in October, and I just want to wrestle. Like, I'm like everybody else. I have goals of, I want to main event WrestleMania, or I want to go win this title or do that title. But the number one overall goal my whole life was to be a wrestler. And I've done it. And I'm doing it. That is something that a lot of people in this world have had dreams and haven't even had the chance to try and attempt it. I'm already living my dream of being a wrestler. So the next step, obviously, the big leagues, on whatever it may be. Like I said, I've done extra work for WWE. I've got to be a part of the team for the day. I would love to be a part of that team full time. They're the biggest company in the world. If AEW calls, I would be down for that. I'm a very big fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that is, like everybody else, one of my goals. I want to go wrestle in Japan. So, 5 years from now, whoever, I would definitely love to be signed. And just wrestling. That's always been the goal. And I just want to keep doing that. Because that's just what it's always been. Just being a wrestler. I think a lot of people kind of overlook that. Like, It's good to keep making new goals, but remember, the number one goal was to just do this. Because this is very dangerous. This is not an easy thing to do. Once you start, your first day of wrestling is the healthiest you'll ever be, and then your health just slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly declines. You only got a certain amount of time you can do this. So I'm just happy to be a wrestler, and I just want to keep on an upward trajectory. And whoever comes calling, I'll answer. So
I want to leave you with what I feel is a mind-blowing thought, and it's when I see talented wrestlers like yourself. You're so young, you're 20 right now. So the next 5 years, that puts you at 25. If you're as good as you are right now, imagine how good you're going to be in 5 years. And here's the scary part about that. You're not anywhere near your prime yet. Think about that as you're moving forward, because this is why I say before we went on the air, professional wrestling, the future's looking really good, because as good as and again, not to pat me on the back or what we do on this channel, we look at indies everywhere, here in the States, the UK, Australia, every continent. We've got relationships with companies everywhere. We've been fortunate enough to really carve our own little niche here. And when I say that guys like you, and there's like Devious Casses, the Keatoas in Australia, the Ricky Atamis in Australia, the Miles Kaymans in the UK. Professional wrestling is in a really good fucking place, a really good place for the future, and I want to thank you for the work that you've put in to making this thing happen, because you're a big piece of it, and people are going to know exactly who you are, and when that phone rings, it's yours to take.
Well, I thank you for the kind words, and just those first four wrestlers that I gave you with Aaron Roberts and Jackson Drake and Marco Harris and Jameson Shook. If I'm not mistaken, nobody on that is over the age of 22, if I'm not mistaken. And two of those guys are in the ID program, and one's running his own freaking show. So I definitely feel this is turning into a young man's game, and I do think the future is very bright. There are very other talented young talents that I see out there that I'm like, man, I think we can really do something special together. And I think where wrestling is going with the ID program and other things in the works and happening around, I think wrestling's in a very special place, and I think it's in a very cool, special place at the moment, and I think it's only going to get bigger and better. So
absolutely, real quick, give me a couple of names that you want to work with that are out there right now. You just mentioned, like, you see a lot of talented wrestlers, a lot of talented people out there. Some people that you haven't worked with, you want to.
That I haven't. Oh gosh. All right. Well, some of these people are not because I want to work with them. It's because I want to beat them. Marcus Mathers, the current IWTV World Champion. He ran his mouth about me for no reason, unprovoked. Ryan Clancy, the Wrestling Open World Champion right now. He another guy that ran his mouth about me unprovoked on social media. I didn't do anything. I just put my opinion out there, and those two had something to say about it. So definitely those two, I think, are at the very top of the list: Marcus Mathers and Ryan Clancy. Some other talented people out there: Titus Alexander. Is very, very talented.
Yes, West Coast.
Kevin Blackwood. Another one. This guy, he's like a stan. The Eminem song where the guy's riding Eminem. That's who this guy is. Robert Martyr. Oh my gosh, this guy's like he's writing me every day on Twitter or X, excuse me, and just goodness gracious. And I think the last guy, another guy I want to beat because, in my opinion, he copied me. Alex Kane.
Oh,
He likes to think that he's a real wrestler. Just because you wear a single doesn't mean anything, buddy. And he's a former Action Wrestling World Champion,
he
and I'm the
is.
current Action World Champion. So I think it's obvious at some point we need to make this matchup happen, and it's a matchup that's never happened before. And I think I would absolutely outclass and outschool Alex Kane. Because, come on, I'm Tim Bosby. So
You give me any combination of any of those names, and I tell you to shut up and take my money. That's what I say. Those are fantastic.
Oh, one more thing, actually. Name I forgot. The one called Manders is a
Oh,
bitch because what a coincidence. We've never wrestled before. What a coincidence when I win the world championship at Action Wrestling, somebody announces they're going to go to the other side of the world for 6 months. Is it a coincidence? I kind of think not. Please clip this. The one called Manders is a bitch and was scared to face the Action Wrestling World Champion Tim Bosby. And Manders, I will be waiting for you when you come back from diddle daddling in the other side of the world. And that escaped my mind earlier, so I just had to make sure I got that out
oh,
there.
I'll clip that for you. We'll make sure that happens. Manders is doing some things over in the UK right now. He had a hell of a match with Gene Money the other day with North Wrestling, but I don't know, man. That's a big boss of the plains, but you're a hoss yourself. Again, that's another one. Shut up and take my fucking money. I'm there, and you have been such a great guest today. And I'm very grateful for the time that you've given us tonight to really sit down and talk a little bit about wrestling, a little bit about you and what you've got going on. Guys and gals, underneath him, it's been there the whole show. If you haven't done so already, shame on you. If you're not following him now, shame on you. He keeps it simple. It's so simple. You just got to search both platforms for the same name, Tim_Bosby. And if you want to help support independent wrestling, you want to help support Tim directly, Pro Wrestling Tees is where it's at. Tim Bosby is where you search over there. You can pick up merchandise, all that good stuff, and anything that you can do to help independent wrestling. More importantly, the independent wrestlers attached to it is a great thing for the business and a great thing for them as well. Mr. Bosby, what would you like? Anything you want to say to anybody before we close it out to our peoples?
I just want to say thank you for listening. You don't have to do this like what I talked about earlier with people take their time and money to shows. If you listen to all this full through, I am dyslexic, so I'm sorry if I had a hard time speaking a little bit. So thanks for listening.
I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you coming in and chatting with me this evening. This has been real fun. The door's always open. If you ever want to come back, you ever want to do some other live stuff, we do live shows and all kinds of stuff too. But the door's open for you at any point. And like I tell you, like I tell everybody else, if there's anything that we can do for you, all you got to do is reach out and say the word, and we'll definitely make things happen. Because we appreciate all of you that get out there and make professional wrestling happen. And I appreciate you in general for your background and keeping the transition game and the technical game alive and well and snapping ankles when you gotta.
Well, I thank you so much for the words. Like I said, I keep being me, and you keep being you, and we'll really blossom this really well with the world of professional wrestling.
Absolutely,
So,
guys. We appreciate you for tuning in and checking us out. This is the one and only Mr. Tim Bosby. I am Chris Page. We'll see you next time.